Okay, class, please welcome my friend and colleague, the demographer Dr. Diana Green Foster.
Thank you, Professor Biggs, for that introduction, and thank you for inviting me here to speak to your class. Good morning, class. Good morning, class. That's better. I'm excited to be here. The kind of students who begin their college career by taking a course titled Sex, Science, and Society. You are my people. And, wow, you are taking this class at an important moment for sex, science, and society, with the Supreme Court decision coming any day. I know you have all turned off your cell phones, but I'm keeping mine on in case there's news. When I know something, you'll know something. Okay, here we go. I'll be talking today about my research. I will give you an overview and use statements from people in the study to demonstrate the findings. But I want to start by asking you a question. How many of you know someone who has had an abortion? Raise your hands. Actually, probably all of you do, because around 1 in 4 American women will have an abortion in their lifetime. 1 in 4. It is likely that all of you know someone who has had an abortion, but they may not have told you about it, because there's a stigma around unwanted pregnancy and an even bigger one around abortion. Just the other day, I was at a small dinner party with a group of women, and after hearing what I studied, one woman said, "I don't know how anyone could kill their baby." Everybody heard it, and nobody said a word. But after she left, literally everyone there had a story of how they had had an abortion or helped someone who needed one. Now, some of that stigma has to do with the idea that abortion hurts women, an idea that has been used to justify abortion bans and other anti-abortion laws. A prime example was in 2007, when Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy allowed abortion restrictions to stand, saying, "While we find no reliable data to measure the phenomenon, it seems unexceptionable to conclude some women come to regret their choice to abort the infant life they once created and sustained. Severe depression and loss of esteem can follow." Let me say some of that again. While we find no reliable data to measure the phenomenon, it seems unexceptionable to conclude some women come to regret their choice. Once more, for all of us who believe that major policy decisions should be based on evidence, he said, "We find no reliable data to measure this phenomenon." No reliable data. Those are words that a demographer lives for. We began data collection the next year.
Great. First, I would like to ask you a few questions about yourself. Are you currently employed full-time or part-time? Unemployed, a homemaker, or unable to work?
Who do you currently live with? Alone, mother, father, grandparent, spouse, partner / boyfriend, fiance, children, roommates, or other? Who is we?
Do you live in a house, apartment, condominium, mobile home, another type of home, or are you homeless? Apartment.
2 children. Are these children your biological children, stepchildren? Biological.
Has a doctor, nurse, or other healthcare professional ever told you that you had any of the following medical conditions?
Do you suffer from any of the following types of medical conditions?
Asthma,
Abdominal pain,
high cholesterol,
pelvic pain,
diabetes,
back pain, osteoarthritis or migraines.
how tall are you without shoes?
How much do you currently weigh? When did
When
you
did
first
first
consider
consider
having an
having an
abortion?
What was your relationship to the man you became pregnant with at the time you became pregnant? Was he your friend, boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, husband, acquaintance, or something else at that time? Okay.
Did any of the following slow you down or prevent you from coming to the clinic earlier in your pregnancy?
Not knowing you were pregnant,
Not knowing where to go to get the abortion?
figuring out how to get to the clinic,
Travel costs, cost of procedure, insurance coverage?
trouble deciding whether or not you wanted an abortion,
Did you experience any side effects or health problems from your abortion?
do you have an idea of what you will do when the baby is born?
Why were there no reliable data? Well, Justice Kennedy, it is because existing studies only looked at people who had had abortions. They didn't use comparison groups. So, how do you study abortion? Take a moment and consider this question. If you wanted to know if abortion hurts women, what are the comparison groups? Thank you for your answers. To really know the effect of abortion on people's lives, you need to compare people who get abortions with people who want abortions but aren't able to get one. People the clinics turn away. So let's talk about why someone who wants an abortion would be turned away. What do you think? Call it out. Great! There are many possible reasons why a clinic might turn someone away, but in our study, we looked at the people who were turned away because they arrived after the clinic's gestational limit. That's the point in a pregnancy beyond which a clinic will no longer perform an abortion. However, there is no single law or scientific finding that determines that point, so two clinics in the same state may have very different gestational limits. If a clinic performs abortions up to 12 weeks, say, and you show up at 12 weeks and a day, you are out of luck. You are turned away. I put together a study at the University of California, San Francisco, the leading university dedicated exclusively to the health science, as we like to point out. It ran through 2017. We recruited people who sought abortions at 30 facilities across the country. Some arrived just under the clinic's gestational limit and received one. Some arrived just over the limit and were turned away. Then their lives diverged. Or did their lives diverge? And if so, how? That's what we wanted to find out. I led a team of kick-ass women researchers. We followed 1,000 people for up to 5 years each, calling every 6 months for interviews in English and/or Spanish. And we got the data.
Thanks. Now I'm going to ask you about your relationship with your family and friends. For each statement, I want you to tell me whether you strongly disagree, neither disagree nor agree, or strongly agree.
The next few questions have to do with sexual relationships and family planning. Have you had sex in the last month?
My family is willing to help me make decisions.
The last time you had sex, did you or your partner use a method of contraception? What method?
I can talk about my problems with my friends.
Have you had a miscarriage in the 6 months since we last spoke?
There is a special person with whom I can share my joys and sorrows. Sorry, was that agree? Oh, okay, disagree.
Have you had another abortion in the 6 months since we last spoke?
Okay, these last questions are open-ended, so you can answer in your own words. How do you think your life will be different a year from now?
Luisa, come in, that's your desk. To your knowledge, are you now pregnant?
How do you think your life will be different 5 years from now?
Are you currently trying to become pregnant?
Great. Thank you for your time. We will be contacting you for another interview in 6 months. Right, that will be in February 2015. Bye.
Oh, okay, sure. We can pick this up again tomorrow. Same time? Great. Damn.
Sorry.
Not your fault. She had to go. It's Luisa, right? I'm Serena. That's Rhonda.
Welcome. We've been anticipating your arrival.
If you need more space,
I guess I did bring a lot of stuff.
Leave some room for the big stack of files that are coming your way.
Oh, okay, I'll make some room. Here.
did you get a tour?
Yes, Dr. Foster took me around yesterday after the training.
How was the training?
Was it very interesting? Somewhat interesting? A little interesting? Or not at all interesting?
She can't stop.
It's okay if you need to take some time.
Rhonda is an interview machine.
Occupational hazard.
I see. The training was very interesting. I think the study is amazing, but they ask tough questions.
Oh?
Like, should people be able to have an abortion in their 3rd trimester? Or what if someone has an abortion for sex selection? Or for fetal anomalies? And what if they're not life-threatening? If someone's life is in danger, sure, but what if it's not and they have 5 abortions? Or 50? That seems wrong. Is that wrong? Is it even possible to have that many?
That exercise is supposed to make you aware of your own beliefs so you can avoid meaning or seeming judgmental when you're making calls for the study.
Seeming is the key. I make judgments right and left all day long. You named your twins Hester and Lester? Wonderful.
You can't talk right now because you're about to shoot a bear? Of course, no problem. I actually got that one last week.
What?
I kind of want to go hunting with her.
Oh, jeez, sorry. I'm at work.
She won't last a week.
She's just nervous. You weren't so comfortable on your first day, as I recall.
I was born comfortable.
I just needed your friends to leave so I could get enough sleep. Your bandmates, whatever. Yeah, at 2 a.m. I had to get up at 6. I have to go. Bye. Sorry.
No problem.
That was just my boyfriend. His band was practicing in our apartment until 2 in the morning.
Live-in boyfriend?
He moved here with me from Texas. Maybe I should have left him there.
That's what I would have done. No question.
It would cramp Rhonda's style to have a live-in boyfriend.
Right, like you would.
I like it calm at home.
Me too. I am supposed to be studying for the MCAT, but there's always a band playing.
Oh, the MCAT. That's what all those books are for?
Yeah, I was hoping I could study here after work sometimes.
That shouldn't be a problem. There's nobody here in the evenings.
Great. That's great. Oh, Mom?
Nah, I'm good.
I have a nervous stomach, especially since the move.
Oakland doesn't agree with you?
I love it, but my stomach doesn't. You sure you don't want one?
No thanks.
Okay, important decision here. Why do people decide to have an abortion? Take a moment and make a list in your head of some of the reasons. Okay, stop. Congratulations. You have given this more thought than many policymakers deciding on abortion restrictions. We wanted to know, not guess, why the people in the Turnaway study were seeking an abortion. Note that we excluded people who were getting medically necessary abortions because people who are facing an immediate threat to their life are rarely turned away. Let's hope it stays that way. Our researchers asked each participant the same open-ended question. What are the reasons you decided to have an abortion? Most people gave more than one. Can anyone guess the top reason? Money. Nearly half of the people in our study said they wanted an abortion because they didn't think they had enough money to raise a child or another child. As college students, you should have a pretty good idea of how expensive children can be. We took the guesswork out of it. We collected data and impact statements from our study participants.
I was in no position at all to even think about raising a kid. I could not afford diaper number 1.
When I called my boyfriend and I told him I was pregnant, he hung up the phone, and I didn't get a call back until the next day. He told me, well, I don't think it's the right moment. My mother was already raising 4 kids, and she would struggle at times to put food on the table. Things got really rocky, and we actually got evicted. So that was another thing that was going on. So many questions popped into my head. Do I really want to go through this? Is this the right moment? My 2 minutes of happiness that I first felt drifted away when I started realizing that bringing a kid into this world would be a lot harder than I thought.
When I found out I was pregnant, I was 17. And although I was living by myself, I was still scared to tell my mom what was going on. It was almost like me being a kid, trying to hide it and feeling like, let's just take care of this as soon as we can so we never have to tell anyone.
I met this guy on the internet. He didn't live in the same town as me, but he traveled for work and would come on his way to his job to see me. We hung out a couple times and then, decided to try having a relationship. We were both young, and in hindsight, it was not the right choice. He already had a kid with another woman, which probably should have been a red flag. When I found out I was pregnant, it was one of those shifts. Like, I'm so screwed right now. It was I. It was not we. We as a couple are so screwed right now. It was me. I am screwed.
I was dating this guy who was a horrible guy in every sense of the word. The relationship was physically abusive, mentally abusive. He stalked me. I was already in the process of breaking up with this boyfriend, and then I found out that I was pregnant. I was absolutely devastated. I remember sitting on my couch with my roommate and just crying and sobbing. My first instinct was to terminate the pregnancy, and I just kept going. I knew that making the decision would be my way out of this relationship, and I could close that chapter and go forward and not have to look back or have any strings holding me back.
Our daughter is growing up. She's a pretty big highlight of my life. I basically think that everything I've ever done, ever worked for, has been for her. I think I would be depriving her by having to support a second one. And I guess being an only child myself, I was really selfish. I'm still selfish. I just want to give one person everything I can.
I just want to give one person everything that I can. More than half of the people in our study were already parents. So what were the reasons the study participants gave for why they were seeking an abortion? Money, time, partners, kids, aspirations, preparations, and health. Usually a combination. Is that what you thought?
Ready for a practice call?
I think so.
Great. Here are the questions in the response form. You know the tone you're going for?
Balanced rapport.
Yep. Casual and friendly and impersonal.
You aren't here to give advice or opinions.
But try not to sound like a telemarketer or a robot. Thank you for telling me about your difficult pregnancy, your abusive partner, and your starving children.
Okay, I won't do that.
Good call, Rhonda.
Okay. Hi, my name is Luisa from the health study. Is Rhonda there?
This is Rhonda.
Hi, Rhonda. Is this a good time for your interview?
You know it is.
Great. Thank you for taking time to participate in this study. You do not have to answer any questions that you do not feel comfortable answering. but your answers are very important to us and help us understand how how women's lives are affected by pregnancy. I'm nervous.
You're doing fine. Keep going.
Okay. First, I would like to ask you a few questions about yourself. What is your the highest grade or year of school you have completed?
I got my master's, baby.
Okay. Postgraduate degree. Are you currently in school, either full-time or part-time?
Who has time for that?
Okay, not at all. So I go to question 5.
Right.
How would you describe your work status right now? Are you currently employed, full-time?
I'm employed all right. I got this nice office, great coworkers.
Thanks. But are you currently employed full-time or part-time, unemployed, a homemaker, or unable to work?
Full-time.
And what kind of work do you do?
I make pretend phone calls.
That sounds like fun.
Actually, you can't say that. No opinions.
Oh, sorry. Pretend phone call maker. Got it. Who do you currently live with?
How do you count that exactly? Like, can I count the guy who was in my apartment this morning? Adorable, but clueless about some important things. Like, he couldn't operate a coffee maker.
Does he live with you?
No way. No coffee, no stay.
Rhonda.
I live alone.
Okay, so the total number of people living in your home is 1. Is that right?
And I like it that way.
Okay, good. Let's skip ahead to...
How about you, Luisa? What
Good.
about this guy you live with?
I am here today to listen to your experiences.
Good.
You're going to med school?
If I get in. I was an early education major. I have so much catching up to do.
Let's get back to the practice interview. We can interview Luisa later.
Oh no, he's calling again.
Do you need to take it?
He's got a job interview today. I hope he's not lost. Hey, what's up? Everything okay? Your pants? Did you look on the bathroom floor? Then get up and look. Jeez. I think he thinks I'm his mother.
How old is he?
We're both 22.
A 22-year-old man is a lot younger than a 22-year-old woman.
If he's old enough to move to California and start a band, he should be old enough to dress himself.
That depends. Is it a rock band?
Rhonda.
Nothing against rock musicians. I've had some of my best times with a very sexy bass player. And that drummer last summer. Oh, that should be a song. The drummer last summer. So glad I got his number. 'Cause what a comer, my summer comer drummer.
Oof. Don't quit your day job.
I would never. Where else could I sing that song?
Hopefully nowhere.
He couldn't find his pants. It is a rock band.
Let's get back to the interview. We can skip to the end, pick it up on question 173. You're doing great.
We've asked a lot of questions. The last one is there anything else you'd like to tell me about your experience?
Oh boy, I've got a lot to tell. Not about me, but about my husband, Theobald. Theobald somehow thinks that I got pregnant all by myself, without any help from him. I shouldn't be surprised, since this is the guy who asked me the night before his birthday last year if I could refrain from having my period that day. That is a real story I heard. Like too many men, Theobald doesn't know one single thing about female anatomy.
One single thing about female anatomy. Got it. Anything else?
That's about it. Feels good to get that off my chest.
Thank you very much for your time. We will be contacting you by phone for another interview in 6 months.
Can't wait.
Now you can confirm her contact information and availability for a future interview. We'll go over that later. Any questions?
What are the reasons why study participants showed up late at the clinic?
I didn't find out I was pregnant until I would say 4 months. Some of the people at the abortion clinic were just like, how could you not know you were pregnant when you're this far along? You're such a fucking idiot. You missed 4 periods? And I was like, well, you know, I haven't been having periods for a while. I just thought it was nothing new because really I hadn't had a period for like 8 or 9 months at that point. Just because I was kind of underweight. Like, almost all my calories came from booze. I just wasn't having them. I thought it was nothing new until I felt something kick. I felt like I was being considered the dumbest person in the room who doesn't know she's 4 months pregnant.
I actually found out I was pregnant when I was about 5 to 6 months along. I didn't know I was pregnant porque I was still getting my periods. I didn't get nauseous, I wasn't vomiting, all the things that I knew were symptoms of a pregnancy. And I just felt like, okay, it's just my menstrual cycle. I didn't think anything of it.
Both were denied abortions. They were too late in discovering that they were pregnant. Others were late because it's hard to get to a clinic. You will only find abortion providers in 10% of counties in this country. Why? There are more than 1,000 restrictions and stipulations on when, where, how, and who can get an abortion. Restrictions on everything from whether private insurance companies can cover abortion procedures to the width of the halls in abortion clinics. The effect, the desired effect, has been to dramatically reduce the number of providers. Why is 15 weeks not enough time? Asks Supreme Court Justice John G. Roberts Jr. I hope he hears the answer before he makes a decision. 15 weeks may simply not be long enough for someone to know that they are pregnant, much less make it to a clinic in time.
Thank you very much for your time. We will be contacting you by phone for another interview in 6 months.
That seemed very smooth.
I guess so, but the situation was kind of disturbing.
What was the situation?
She's a graduate student.
Oh, and that was disturbing?
Maybe just surprising. She didn't know she was pregnant until she was 4 months along.
Maybe she was on birth control.
Not very good birth control.
No method is 100% good. A lot of the people we talked to were on birth control when they got pregnant.
I'm on the pill.
You know it's not 100% effective, right?
Yes, but it practically is.
Practically for the 93 out of 100 people who don't get pregnant in a year of use. Not so much for the 7 who do.
Oh god. I've been feeling weird lately, but I've always had a sensitive stomach. Like, last night my boyfriend was sick, and today I feel nauseous.
Are you sick?
No, that's what I'm saying. Just seeing someone sick makes me feel sick.
And you want to be a doctor?
Yes.
What's wrong with your boyfriend?
Too much partying. It's gross. I need him to grow up. I really need him to grow up.
Have you ever had the kind of sex that could lead to pregnancy, but you weren't actively trying to make a baby? You don't have to tell me, but have you? Maybe you used a method of contraception and maybe you didn't. Either way, there is a chance you could have become pregnant or caused a pregnancy. Okay, shout out to my daughter and her 9th grade science project for these next slides. Meet Mary. Mary is a hypothetical heterosexual cisgender woman who began having sex at 18, will start menopause around age 45, and wants to have 2 kids when she's ready. How will she accomplish this plan? Mary will have to take 6,844 contraceptive pills, or use condoms every time for something like 2,000 acts of intercourse. or replace her patches 975 times, or her vaginal rings 325 times, or have 4 to 6 intrauterine devices inserted and removed. And even if she's very responsible and careful, Mary might still become pregnant by accident as many as 2 times on the pill, 4 times with condoms, and 7 using withdrawal, which is still better than the 10 to 20 pregnancies she would have if she used nothing at all. Poor Mary. Now factor in the money and time and medical appointments and pharmacy visits required. Many unintended pregnancies in the United States are caused by gaps in contraceptive use. Sometimes because people ran out of condoms or pills or patches or rings, and sometimes because they just got tired of putting up with the side effects of using the method every day, every act, for years on end.
I had a lapse in my birth control by like 2 days. My refill was late, and so I had to go back and get it. It was just a lapse in judgment. I was like, oh, it will be okay. And then it wasn't.
2/3 of the participants in our study were using a contraceptive method in the month they conceived. If you have ever had the kind of sex that can lead to a pregnancy when you didn't want a baby and a pregnancy didn't occur, then you are one of the lucky ones. The unlucky ones show up at the abortion clinic, if there is an abortion clinic.
I really need him to grow up.
What was that? Who needs to grow up? You better not be talking about me.
I'm not talking about you. I was talking about my boyfriend.
Definitely not you. You'll never grow up, and we wouldn't want you to.
That's a relief. Though, maybe I have grown up. I'm starting a clothing line.
Really? Side hustle?
For now, I think it's gonna be big contraceptive-themed headwear.
No.
Yes. This one is for you.
You think I'm gonna walk around with a condom on my head?
I thought you cared about safe sex.
I'll be getting no sex if I walk around looking like this.
Well, that's the safest kind, though not as much fun.
How did you know I was on the pill?
You have that look. Just kidding. I thought it would suit you. Put it on. I was so right.
Where's yours?
Haven't made it yet. I just have these 2 designs so far.
You could make one with calendar pages and thermometers on it.
The rhythm method. You're funny.
Yours should have every kind of contraception on it. It could look really festive, like the party you are.
Ooh, yes. And I can wear it with IUD earrings for special occasions.
You have IUD earrings?
No. Next project.
Hello, this is the health study. How can I help you? Yes, this is a great time. Just give me a sec.
Rhonda, have you used the pill?
I've used everything.
And it's really effective, right?
If you use it carefully, if you're not good at remembering to do things regularly, it may not be the best method for you. But if you never miss a day, I think the chances of getting pregnant is like less than 1%. Of course, nothing's 100% effective.
Okay, great. I've got you scheduled for next Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Talk to you then.
Anything else you want to know?
Yes. Is it okay if I leave a little earlier today?
Sure, if you have to. Do you know about the film screening?
I don't think so.
They're showing my favorite movie and paying us to watch it.
There's a research group here that's studying media representations of abortion. Sometimes they can screen a film and ask us questions afterwards.
I don't think I can tonight.
That's okay. It's not required. There will be other chances.
Okay. I've gotta go. See you tomorrow.
I'm not saying I told you so.
You can't yet. We have to give her some more time.
1 week. Does abortion cause psychological or emotional harm? This is the question that launched our study, the Justice Kennedy Challenge. It seems unexceptionable to conclude some women come to regret their choice. Here's what the trend in depressive symptoms actually looks like. Here are the people who received an abortion. And here are the people who were turned away. No abortion. Notice anything? The two curves are pretty darn similar. The people in the study tended to be a little depressed at the start. They had an unwanted pregnancy, so maybe not a surprise, but they are doing better by the end of the study. That goes for other measures of mental health as well. People who received abortions and people who are turned away experience steady improvement over time. By the end of 5 years, the mental health of the two groups was the same. This graph is one of my favorite results of the study because it is a really simple representation of resilience. 5 years after an unwanted pregnancy, whether it ended in an abortion or a birth, 1,000 participants of our study were on average doing a lot better in terms of their mental health than when they were recruited. How about their emotions? Do people who have abortions come to regret their choice, as Justice Kennedy presumed? No. At the end of 5 years, over 95% say they don't regret their choice. So no, Justice Kennedy, your guesses were wrong.
It was definitely probably the hardest decision I ever had to make in my entire life. The first couple years, I did not accept it. Now, as I get older, I don't regret the abortion at all. I'm where I'm supposed to be in my life, so I know that I made the right decision for myself. When I think about it now, I don't look down into that deep, dark spiral of, oh my god, I can't believe that happened.
I don't think that the abortion has affected anything since then negatively. And honestly, I'm not even sure if it's been positive either. I think it was just something that I knew had to be done. And we went about our lives.
If the mental health of people who get abortions and the people who turn away is the same, does that mean that there's no difference between those who received and those who were denied abortions? It does not. For every other measure of well-being, the two groups diverge. For instance, the ability to pay for basic needs. People who are turned away are much less likely to be able to afford food, housing, or transportation than those who received a wanted abortion. If there are children in the household, those children are much more likely to be living in poverty and less likely to achieve developmental milestones if their mother was turned away than if she received an abortion. And there are serious health effects as well. Women who were turned away were much more likely to have life-threatening consequences from their pregnancies and report worse health for years after. Sorry, Oh my god. It's happened. The Supreme Court has just overturned Roe v. Wade. I'm so sorry. This is going to affect your lives. This is going to affect your whole generation.
Shit. I'm still at work. No, I'm studying. Actually, no, I can't. There's too much noise, too much mess, and too many people. Well, good to know. Good to know that there was one single day where my new apartment wasn't filled with noisy, messy people who don't pay the rent. Right. You're job hunting. How's that going? Nothing's wrong. I've gotta go. Padre nuestro, que estás en el cielo, santificado sea tu nombre, venga tu reino. Hágase tu voluntad en la tierra como en el cielo. Danos hoy nuestro pan de cada día. Perdona nuestras ofensas, como también nosotros perdonamos a los que nos ofenden. No nos dejes caer en tentación y líbranos del mal. Amén.
They did it. We thought they might, and they did. I will get back to the Turnaway study, but there's something I feel I need to address first. Why did the Supreme Court make the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade? Let's see if I can tackle it calmly. First of all, it didn't come out of the blue. There have been 50 years of concerted effort to overturn Roe v. Wade. States made law after law that they knew would be contested, hoping they could fight it all the way up to the Supreme Court and get the decision reversed, which is what just happened. But what was the reasoning? Well, the majority opinion in the case says that there is no right to abortion because abortion isn't mentioned in the Constitution. There's no precedent for it. But do you know what else isn't mentioned in the Constitution? Women! There is literally no mention of women in the Constitution. One would hope that the Supreme Court will interpret the Constitution in a way that accounts for all the progress we've made. Not usually. What the Supreme Court has done for much of its history, and now all of its decisions, is protect the interests of white, property-owning men. If you're like me, you may want to blame it all on Justice Alito. Alito is a smug, racist, classist, patriarchal misogynist, but he didn't do this alone. Why did the Supreme Court make the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade? Because people's lives and bodies still aren't their own. Because nobody cares about poor people. Because the government in this country keeps prioritizing politics over people. Because no matter how hard we try, they don't fucking listen! That wasn't nearly as calm as I hoped.
Oh, hey, you're still here. You missed the movie.
I came back to do some studying. I've already seen Dirty Dancing.
So have I, and I can't get enough.
I love a good abortion movie, especially one where the woman has the abortion and doesn't die.
Well, you know, 1 in 6 women dies after having an abortion.
What?
In the movies. In real life, it's safer than having a baby.
A lot safer. Women in the U.S. are 14 times more likely to die carrying a pregnancy to term than from having an abortion. And for black women, it's higher than that.
Yeah, they are 3 times more likely to die during pregnancy or delivery than white women. And on that fun note, do you two want to go for a drink? You can wear your new hats.
I could do that,
I can't.
minus the hat.
I can't, but thanks.
Now I've had the time of my life, and I've never
Oh, we're
felt this
dancing
way
now.
before. Yes, I swear.
Not the
it's
lips.
the truth,
And I owe it up to you.
Come dance with us. Nobody puts baby in a corner.
If you only knew.
You don't dance?
Your life is secretly a 1960s coming-of-age movie.
No, there's a baby in the corner.
No, there isn't. You're just new to this. I think you're going to be great.
I mean, I'm pregnant.
Oh,
When did you find out? Oh, wow. How far along are you?
I don't know. My stomach's been off lately, but that's normal for me. I've been on the pill for a couple of months, But for all I know, I was already pregnant when I started.
When was your last period?
I don't know that either. But irregular periods are a side effect of the pill.
That's true.
Most likely, you're well within the time frame for getting an abortion. Don't worry, the clinic in San Francisco is great, and we can help you get an appointment.
You can't decide that for her, Rhonda. Maybe she wants to keep the baby.
Keep it? Is that what you want? What does your boyfriend think about it? He doesn't know.
How can I tell him? I don't think he's ever even held a baby.
Well, that's easy enough to learn.
Yeah, most dads are so great at it.
Most dads are good at it.
A whole lot of dads hand the baby to mom as soon as the baby starts crying.
She can hand it right back. There's no reason for that.
The reason is that men are big babies.
Rhonda, all men?
Maybe there are a few grown-up men. Maybe you can meet one. Come out for a drink with us, or a soda, or whatever.
I think I'll just stay here for a little while.
Do you want us to stay with you?
No thanks. I just need to do some thinking.
Okay, call us if you need us.
Why am I taking it so personally? Because I know the consequences of unwanted pregnancies from careful scientific study, and I feel them because of my own family story. My father's mother, Sally, had an abortion during the Great Depression. At the time, abortion was illegal in New York, so she traveled to Puerto Rico where it was legal. Later, she went on to have 3 children: my uncle, my aunt, and my dad. I learned about her abortion when I was in high school, and it made a big impression. My grandmother had an abortion. My tiny old grandmother with the big wet grandmother kisses, Grandma had an abortion. Meanwhile, on my mom's side, her biological mother, Dorothy, became pregnant when she was 19. Years later, Dorothy told me that her 30-year-old golf instructor taught me more than I needed to know. And when she told him she was pregnant, he said that if she ever told anyone the baby was his, he would get all of his friends to say it could be theirs. That's my charming biological grandfather. Dorothy's parents were furious about her out-of-wedlock pregnancy, so they sent her away to the Salvation Army home for unwed mothers in San Diego. Her baby, my mom, was placed for adoption. Dorothy experienced severe complications from delivery, both physical and emotional. After placing my mother for adoption, she struggled to find strong romantic relationships, and she never did get to have more children, though she desperately wanted them. Her life trajectory took a detour when she became pregnant, and she never found a way to get back on track. My mom found her when I was 12, and my grandma Dorothy and I became super close. I was the one at her bedside when she died. My mom's mom was forced to give her child up for adoption. If she'd had an abortion, I wouldn't exist. My dad's mom had an abortion in the 1930s and later gave birth to my dad. If she hadn't had an abortion, I might not exist. Many of us are alive and well today because our mothers and grandmothers were able to avoid carrying unwanted pregnancy to term. It allowed them to take care of the children they already had or have a baby under better circumstances later. Now that abortion may become illegal in half of the country, the question is whether we get to live the lives we want to lead. And will we get to have and raise children on our own terms? And one more lesson from my family story. Anyone who suggests that adoption is a substitute for abortion, Amy Conan Barrett, is being callous about the physical health risks, the social stigma, and the emotional toll. Relinquishing a child is extremely difficult. I see that in Dorothy's experience, and we see that in the study data.
The day after my son was born was extremely hard. It was just extremely hard to see them drive away and not have the satisfaction of going home with my baby. I had to have a social worker come to my house so I could sign over my rights. She was saying, once you do this, you have no legal rights for the rest of his life. At any time, they could decide that they don't want you to see him anymore. They can do that. I was thinking, what if this is the wrong decision for him? I just don't want him to ever wonder why this decision was made or feel unloved.
In the past month, how often did you see the man you became pregnant with?
¿Qué relación tenía con el hombre de quien quedó usted embarazada? En el momento de su embarazo. Son las preguntas. ¿Era su amigo, novio, exnovio, esposo, conocido o tenía alguna otra relación?
Does he know about this pregnancy?
Were you given an ultrasound at any point before your abortion appointments?
Mi familia está dispuesta a ayudarme a tomar decisiones. Yo no hago eso.
Were you offered a view of the ultrasound?
Did he know about the pregnancy when you were deciding about having an abortion?
Hay una persona especial con quien puedo compartir mis felicidades y tristezas.
How did you feel about the ultrasound, either during the ultrasound or afterwards?
¿Cómo cree que su vida será distinta de aquí a 5 años?
How did he feel about this pregnancy? Would you say he, 1, wanted you to have the baby and keep it? 2, wanted you to have the baby and let someone else raise it? 3, was not sure about whether he wanted you to have the baby? Or 4, did not want you to have the baby?
Great. Thank you very much for your time. We will be contacting you by phone for another interview in 6 months.
Muchas gracias por su tiempo. Dentro de 6 meses nos pondremos en contacto con usted para hacer otra entrevista. Sí, es otro. Muchas gracias por tu ayuda. Ok, tengo que colgar. Gracias, pero tengo que colgar. Bye bye.
I was going to have you do a practice call in Spanish, but I guess you just went for it.
No, I didn't. That was my mom.
Your mom?
I thought she'd make a good practice subject.
That sounds fine. I'll call you then.
How'd it go?
Terrible. I can't ask her those questions. I've never talked to my mother about sex ever, and I can't ask her half the other questions either, like about her mental health or how much she weighs. And then, when I asked about how she sees herself in 5 years, she said she sees herself playing with a grandbaby.
Aw, que se abuela.
See?
You told her you're pregnant?
No! I can't.
In 5 years, you'll still be in med school. I think you should ask your mom to put off that particular dream.
That's not for you to say, Rhonda. Luisa may want to have a baby sooner than that. Maybe a lot sooner.
With her pantsless boyfriend? No offense, Luisa, but he's not on your level.
He might rise to the challenge.
He has a good heart.
And anyway, she doesn't need him to raise a baby. Don't tell my mother that a single mom can't do a great job of raising a kid.
I don't want to lose this job.
You've made it 8 days, Luisa. We don't want to lose you now.
8 days?
Yes, that's the magic number.
Rhonda.
My 5-year plan was med school. I want to help people when they really need it and be the person who speaks their language to find out what's wrong.
Wow.
You can do that now or you could do it later.
What's your 5-year plan, Serena?
I want to go back home and open an abortion clinic where the needs of the whole person are met. Not just physical, but emotional, spiritual, and social. I'm tired of Black women being mistreated and unheard.
You too. So ambitious and good.
Yeah, well, it will take a lot.
You can do anything, Serena.
You're so strong.
Careful with that word.
Strong? Isn't that a good thing?
Women are always expected to be strong.
Especially black women.
And they're expected to put up with anything that happens or doesn't happen to them. Men, on the other hand, you know why there aren't male birth control pills? They stopped clinical trials because the participants experienced side effects.
Acne and mood changes. The same exact side effects of nearly every birth control method available to women.
I wish I was stronger.
Are you kidding? Moving here from Texas, aiming for med school, working so hard, all at 22 years old? You are strong. Just don't let it be the excuse for people to push you harder than you want to be pushed.
Who steps in to help somebody who is denied an abortion? What we found is nobody. People who are denied an abortion are more likely to be raising children alone, without a partner and without adult family members. 1 in 20 participants in our study experienced violence from the partner involved in the pregnancy. People who received an abortion experienced a sharp decline in violence. There was no decline for those who were denied. Put those things together with the fact that they are more likely to live in poverty, experience worse physical health, and struggle to take care of their existing children, and we are talking about the lives of real hardship and strain.
Pregnancy definitely has a negative impact on people's financial well-being because it is very, very difficult to find a job when you're pregnant, to keep a job when you're pregnant, and to find and maintain a job with a baby, especially if your partner is a douchebag who doesn't want to help. The incidence of domestic violence skyrocket because you're financially dependent on your partner, because you have to be at home with the kid. Pregnancy is an incredibly scary thing, especially if you cannot trust the person you're with.
There is almost nothing more telling than the answers to the questions we asked at the very end of each interview. We asked, what are your plans for the coming year? And then we asked them to look further out and tell us what they hope to be doing in 5 years.
I'm an overnight manager. I work the graveyard shift, which is pretty tough because I come home early. So when I come home, my daughter is already awake and she's up and running. I'm just so drained out from work that sometimes I can't spend as much time as I would like to with her. Her father is not really around. I guess he hasn't reached the point of maturity that he should be at. He's just not ready for commitment. And I just want Mija to have a stable relationship, a stable family, a stable house.
If I hadn't had the abortion, the calmness and the strength and everything that I feel now, I don't think that any of that would have been here. I feel like my life would still be as chaotic and kind of crazy. Even, I think, meeting and marrying my husband, I don't think would have been possible had I had that child.
If I had the baby, I definitely wouldn't be in the relationship that I'm in. I probably wouldn't have left my hometown just because of the financial cost of raising a child. And now, I don't want children. For so long, our society has said you graduate high school, you get a job, or you go to college, you get a job, you have kids, dog, picket fence, blah, blah, blah. I'm realizing that that model is not going to work for me. I want to use all of my time and resources to explore versus finding that nuclear family. We want to take another month-long trip this year and maybe even do a couple extreme sports events because as a woman in the mountain biking world, I am definitely in the minority. This year, the chance of being at the top of an event is very high, and it's definitely on my list of goals. I don't think that abortion needs to spell the end of a woman's life. I feel like right now maybe our society puts it that way, like if you have an abortion, you're damaged goods. I don't think that's true at all. I'm proof of it. I'm proof that having that abortion did not end my quest to take over the world.
I've learned a very important lesson, that I can make plans and try to figure it out, but in the end, I never am going to know what's going to happen next. But I do have plans for myself to just really make life worth it, considering that I'm giving up a life in a way when I gave up my son for adoption. I'm just trying to make something for myself rather than nothing. If I make nothing, then it wasn't all worth it.
Our daughter has grown up with everything that I could have, would have, should have given her. It's a good life. It's an ordinary life, but it's an extravagant, wonderful, ordinary life.
Am I saying that every person in this study who received or wanted abortion had it easier and better than every person who didn't? No. There were 1,000 participants in the study with 1,000 different stories. Real people with real hopes and dreams and real challenges.
Shaniqua Turner. I know that name. I think it's a woman who saw the abortion from the clinic where I used to work. Hello? May I speak with Shaniqua, please? Hi, Shaniqua. This is Serena from the study. It's her. Great. I know you've heard this before, but thank you for taking time to participate in this study. I want to tell you that the information you provide will be kept confidential. If you tell me that you are having thoughts about suicide, I will provide a referral to support services and may be required to involve appropriate authorities. Suicide by cigarettes? Ha, no. I guess that doesn't count. So, how would you describe your work status right now? Are you currently employed, full-time, or part-time, unemployed? Sorry, I can't hear you very well. You were laid off? Hello? Oh, hi. Who is this? That's not a very nice thing to say. Okay. Can you put your mommy back on? Shaniqua? I see. Oh, wow. Well, maybe this isn't the best time to talk. We can continue the interview tomorrow. Same time? Okay. Talk to you then. That was something. I remember her really struggling back then. But her mother had just died and she couldn't imagine giving birth without her mom there with her. But we had to turn her away. And now I just talk to her child.
The one she was pregnant with when you turned her away?
Most likely. The timing works out.
She had the baby.
Well, that was a given. There was nowhere else for her to go at the point when I turned her away.
But she's okay now?
Depends on what you mean by okay. Some of these stories we hear do not come out all right. Time will pass, and yes, she's resilient. But that doesn't take away the 3 or 4 hours that maybe she's lived in 10 different places. It doesn't take away the fact that she didn't know who was eating today. It doesn't take away the fact that she wore the same clothes for 4 years straight. You see what I'm trying to say?
I think so.
And also, what is she left with? There's no guarantee she's going to get along with the child. She's going to think about the abortion she didn't get. She's going to think about everything she went through to raise that child.
Women are strong, but they shouldn't always have to be.
Exactly. And for women of color, it's even more true, which is some bullshit. It's not fair to say that women can endure a little bit more trauma than usual and say that we're going to be all right at the end of the day, because you don't hear that we're not all right, because we've been silenced by that trauma. So yeah, all right is not all right.
All right is not all right.
Right.
I want a baby.
You do?
I do. I want a baby. But do I want one right now? I don't know.
Time for the big wrap-up. Let's review what the data tells us. We found no evidence that abortion hurts women. In fact, we found the opposite. Abortion is associated with better outcomes for women and children compared to carrying unwanted pregnancy to term. Happier romantic relationships, less poverty, greater ability to take care of existing kids, and a greater likelihood of setting and achieving aspirational life goals in the coming year, including having wanted pregnancies later. Did you get all that? Good, because it is pop quiz time. I'm going to describe a scenario to you, and you are going to decide what should happen next. Ready? Imagine a young woman who has just discovered a career she loves. She'll need an advanced degree to get where she aspires to be in this career. For now, she is working very hard and saving money. She doesn't have a very steady relationship, though she does have supportive family and friends. Now, suppose this young woman gets pregnant without intending to. What does our research say about whether she should have a baby or an abortion? Let's imagine she lives someplace where it's still legal. What do you think she should do? Have the child, have the abortion? That was a trick question. The answer is not your decision. The people in the study made the decision to seek an abortion based on how they thought a baby would change their life. And they were right. Nobody else can make that decision for them. Nobody else should make that decision for them. Not the Supreme Court, not their state legislators, and not even a class of very smart college kids can know what is right for someone else. When people are not able to make this decision for themselves, their lives and the lives of their children will be worse off. George Tiller was a physician who provided abortions in Kansas and was assassinated by an anti-abortion extremist in 2009. He used to say, "Trust women." That's the big takeaway of the study. You can trust people who are pregnant to make decisions for themselves. That's usually the end of my talk, but I want to add this. I went into abortion research because I was interested in motherhood and family planning and science, not because I wanted to be an extremist, an activist. But I think we all have to become activists now. So keep learning, stay informed, and exercise your vote. Speak up for the rights of the people in your community and your country. You have the data.
Me too.
Were you filming when I said that?
Maybe.